So, hello. I'm going to make a video on ship's boats to sort of expand on the two that I've made previously. As you can see here, these are many of the different sizes for different ships that I have already made. I'm going to show how to make the framework that you see here. Cut out the bulkheads, put them up, line them up, and everything else from day one. Now, first of all, you're going to need plans. And most of what I use comes from these three books, as you can see here. Okay? This book right here, very in-depth. Covers quite a broad range of construction years, and they have many plans that say you can't use them, but I actually like the ones from this book a little bit better, as they're laid out easier to copy and read. Now, these are from a cutter from the Potomac, which I believe is a sloop of war. The shape is pretty much the same as it is on 74s or 44 gun frigates or 32 gun frigates or what have you. And as you can see, this is the first cutter. Here it shows a gig and a second cutter. And in the next page, there's a few others here, a quarter boat, and many others here. As you can see, there are lots of them. There's 3 or 4 pages. Now these get into about 1850s, 54. And this particular one is a barge. No, this is not the barge. This one is the barge, or whaleboat, if you will. And this one is, as you can see, a cutter. And here's another. This is a launch and a gig up here. And here's another launch. And now that you pretty much have what you need for plans, I'll show you the materials that basically make them out of. Now this is 16th inch plywood. I don't recall if this is basswood plywood or not, but I think I got 6 sheets of this off of Amazon for around $12, something like that. And I will be cutting out the bulkheads and pasting them to this in much the same manner as you saw in the bulkhead making video that I did for the New York. Now here you're also going to need some rubber bands. Now here, these are rubber bands right here. They've been used. As you can see, they're kind of stretched out. And these are unused ones. This is a 1-inch rubber band. You can get those as a bunch. And also at Walmart, you can get these little things like this. These are in the cosmetics department. They actually work pretty good. And one of these just stretched across seems to hold the bulkhead wood in place. Or I should say the frame wood. I will do it for this section of this video. I am going to select a plan from this book right here. I am going to make a cutter to begin with. And everything else, they're almost all the same. There's no difference really. But I'm going to choose cutter because there are 2 or even 3 of them on a ship. So they're the most common of the of these 6 or 7 boats that a frigate, for instance, or a 74 would carry. Right? And I'm going to make that, get the plans up and show you those, how I start, in just a minute. Bye. Now this is the cutter I'm going to make. This is a 32-foot cutter. This is in 1/72 scale. And as you can see, according to this scale here, going from the 1 to the 2 there, that's 6 feet. in 1/72 scale, 6 feet equals an inch. Well, this is the one I'll be making. I'll be taking this diagram right here, and I will be printing out enough of these to make all the bulkheads that you see going along here like this, all right? And I'll also be making the end whale or bulkhead right here as well. And then I'll be cutting this out, this piece right here, which is the keel. I'll be cutting that out and also making that out of the 1/16 inch plywood. Okay, I'll get right back to you once I start making the frames. As you can see, I'm starting to cut this out. Now I've cut these lines along this dotted line here, on this dotted line here, and over here. And this line that I penciled in is 1¼ inches from here. And I'll cut across that right there. And this will go on the bottom of the base, or on top of the base, I should say. Between each of these bulkheads, you see right here, I'll be putting a spacer to help keep these in line and horizontal, or I'm sorry, vertical, and lined up horizontally as well. So I'm using a piece of stock this thick. This is 1/32 of an inch, and it should be more than enough. And that puts it to about here, but I need this space right here because I like a little room in order to work with the putting the planks on the sides. And you'll see how that works when I get to that point. Here you can see the little cutout that I've made. I'm going to put that in my printer right here, up in this corner, about here, all right? And I'll close the lid here, and I'll go over here, and I'll basically push start black, and then I'll start to copy. So my copier to feed into this, put it back in here, back here into the printer, and under the glass, I've moved it a little bit to that side. I'll move it in a different position, probably 4 across, as much as I need to get as many as I need. So now you see I got 2 of them, and I'll make as many as I need by refeeding the paper and moving the plan a little bit each time. Now, as you can see, I have 9 of them. 8 for the bulkheads and 1 for the stern whale. I'll show you how, pretty much the same as the bulkhead making video of the New York, but we'll do it here anyway. See you in a bit. Well, here I have this one cut out, all right? Now you can see this little number here, that's 0, with 2 little dashes on the side. That signifies the center. That is the same on this side right here, all right? So all you're going to be making is this one, and this one, 3 here. And you need a centerpiece, so that's 1 here, this one, this one, this one, and this one, and then this. So you don't have to make 4 like it shows here, because this one here is the same as this one right there. Now here you can see I have them all cut out and folded in half. These 3 lines here, the center line is where you make your fold. You can see there's one outside line here, and there's the inside line right there, the middle line right there. And now you just take your scissors and you snip these out all the way up. See how this goes all the way up here, okay, to the top, right? Okay, when I'm done cutting them all out, I'll show you what those look like. Now in here, you can see they're all cut out, including the stern whale, and the keel is also cut out. Now next I'll be mounting those with glue. In this case I use not contact cement, rubber cement, to connect them to the plywood. Now here I've got the bulkheads and the keel and the stern wheel pasted with the cement, the rubber cement. And over here I've done on the plywood where it's going to be applicated. And I'll come back and I'll show you when they're on there. Oh no, here they are. Now it may seem like I'm doing this over the top, so to speak, but I am taking it for granted that this video will be viewed by many people who don't speak the English that I am using in this video. And so I'm hoping that by including every single little bitty step that they can do this without the benefit of translating my English into their native language. Before I cut out the bulkheads that I just showed you, I'm going to briefly show you how to make the base. Now, this is the material that I chose to make the base out of. It doesn't really matter what you make. I mean, I've used, as you can see, I've used plywood, I've used scrap pine. In this case, this is 1/4 inch basswood. It's about, 2 inches wide or so. And on it, I have this edge is factory edge. So I know it's nice and straight, and I can make measurements off of here to center and down the center here, measuring from this edge. I'll show you how to do that in a bit. Now this is the top-down view of the cutter that I am making. And I'll cut that out, and a portion of it will get glued to the base once I have the lines for the bulkheads copied to the wood. Now you see here I have the outline cut out, and I have the lines marked for the bulkheads go. Right? I'm going to pull this off, and I'll take a square, a small square, and I will line up, draw these lines all the way across here. Right? So there, now you see I have the bulkhead lines drawn on the base. So now everything's cut out, and I cannot stress enough how important it is that this top portion right here, nice and straight. Because when you lay it on the here, you want that to be completely horizontal or vertical, so that when it stands up and you look on it end on, everything lines up. You might have noticed in the earlier video where I had everything glued on to the plywood before I cut it out, and there were only 7 bulkheads. And that was because on my way from my bedroom workshop to my garage workshop, one of them flew out of my hand, and I did not notice it until I cut them all out and I realized I was missing one. There you go. And everybody makes those silly mistakes. And now I'm going to show you how to make the spacers between the bulkheads on the base. Well, this is the stock for the base spacers. You take the bulkhead, that's the thinnest of all of these here. This measures the least amount across here. So you want that piece right here to be this at least just a little bit smaller than the smallest piece. Well, you're going to go back to here, and you'll measure from a 32nd out to here, because you're going to put this spacer on here, basically like this, you see, right dead center, that line, right, and the next one's going to be here, like this. So that space between the two is going to be a total of a 1/16 inch, in this case, smaller than this measurement. And again, between here and here, it'll be a 1/16 of an inch smaller than this measurement. And so I'll measure off on this stock, the piece here, a piece here, a piece here, 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 and here. And when I have those cut and I'm ready to put them on, I'll show you. Now, before I cut my spacers, I want to show you a couple different things. One, on the base, on the spacer stock, I put a center line. So when this piece gets cut out and it gets put on here, that center line on here has to line up with that center line right there. Okay. Another thing I did was I took the bulkheads and the center line that I folded on for here, I drew that up following that to the top, right? And then I took that little line on it here, oops, and I extrapolate it onto that side. And then again on the bottom at the center to here. And I turned it over and I made a mark here and a mark here, and I drew a line. So that will help. So when I put these slots in, I slot these in, I line that up like this. I have a measurement on the back side and on the front side that I can line up with. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out the spacers. Again, I made the measurements of each of these right here. Here's how much they measured here. These 3 or 4 here are the same. This one's a little bit bigger, and this one in the back is a little bit bigger than the one in the front. So you have 3 different sizes basically. And I'll get those cut out and I'll start lining those up and putting them on in the next section of the video. Now, a couple other little issues I've run into here as I've gone along is I've realized that here you have to cut a strip of this plan off right here across the top. You see here, because here you need to glue this right there like that. Okay, paper is not going to hold. It's going to break out on you at some point. So you have to cut that off. Make sure you rub all the rubber cement off of there because the CA won't stick to that. Okay, and also notice on the stock that I'm cutting here, this basswood here, how fuzzy that is along that edge right there, right? That has to be sanded smooth. So it looks like this. You may not think so. When you put this down on here like this, and you take your bulkhead and you try to put it in here like this, that little bit of fuzz, believe it or not, is going to keep you from getting this piece right here seated flush to this, right? And you need to have as close a tolerances as you can get. So just an FYI, another little thing you may have to be aware of. Now, as I've been doing this, I've run into a little bit better way of making these spacers. I take my stock and put it on there, as you see, and I make 2 lines there and there that is in from where the number 5 line is. It's half the thickness of this. Then I'll draw my line up and down there and cut on that. And that will fit better than trying to use a ruler. You may have noticed that I'm putting each section in individually. Then put the bulkhead in and then another section. And I I'm going to draw a line of super glue along this edge right here. Like that, okay? And then I'll put some on here like this. There, just like that. Right, then of course this piece will go in there. Alright? Okay, and so here now you have the finished jig. Just like that. Alright? the rest of the video that I'm going to make with regard to the ships has already been covered in previous videos, like how to put the keel on and the stern whale and stuff like that. Now, because it's part of the steps, I'm going to repeat it again in this video, in the next one actually, because at some certain points there I kind of skipped steps, and I want to have a more continuous progression as I go along. So you'll have to forgive me for repeating some of the steps in this next video coming up. This is it for this one.